All right. Hey, everyone. I am here with LeAnne Constantine. Hi, LeAnne.
Hi.
Hi, and you are the broker owner of Constantine Turner Real Estate out of Nashville. So thank you for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Now, I think I'm excited about this topic because you do, as the broker owner of your brokerage, you do deal with a lot of agents. And I know a lot of agents are having it's tough out there to get a
Yeah.
contract accepted. It's tough. It doesn't feel like you had said it right before we were recording. It's like we're not even negotiating anymore, pretty much. It's like you're giving up your rights. So, what are some of the tips and strategies that you're talking to your agents about and that you're using that's helping them and their clients?
Well, the biggest tip I'm giving my agents, particularly new agents, is right now it's crucial to set expectations. I
Hmm.
mean, even with investors, you've got to set the expectation that this is not the market we had 2 years ago or when
Right.
you last purchased a property. And if you're
So
the
don't
seller,
bring those deal killer parents. No, I'm just kidding.
well, you've got to
If
set
you're going to bring
expectations for
them,
everyone. Yes, parents included. And if you have to help the buyers come to terms with the fact that if they want a certain area and they want a certain school zone, they want all these things they want,
yeah,
they're gonna have to give up some stuff, including a lot of cash.
I agree. I think too, like we talk about it all the time on the podcast, but all of that can be done at a buyer consultation. So
Absolutely.
when like a client calls, do not be a Pop Tart. Don't Pop Tart and go over there. There are several steps that need to happen before they see a house. Like I
Right.
assume you agree, right?
Yeah. The difficult part in this market with that strategy, because I'm all about before you go out seeing things with people, you sit down, you explain the
Yeah.
process, you get your buyer rep signed. But unfortunately, and I think that it's like this all over the country, but I know in Nashville and Franklin, where we're located, the house is on the market for a number of hours and it's got 10 offers.
I
And so
know. All the
you
more
do have to
reason.
jump up, you know,
Yeah.
and that's why when people first call me, I tell them right there on the phone, okay, this is how our market's working right now.
Hmm.
This is what's going to be required of you.
Hmm.
How comfortable are you with that?
Right.
And
Great
a lot of
question.
times we'll have to adjust the price point down because we
Hmm.
know we're going to have to bid over. And so
Right.
that's something, particularly first time home buyers, that's something they're not expecting to hear.
Right. No, I like that question though. Like, here's what's going on in the market. Are you prepared to compete right now? Like, are you prepared to work within those boundaries? Because if you're not, like, and I mean, I know that houses are going in an hour or less, a minute, but it's too bad because you're not prepared to buy yet. Because I mean, what has happened between the time you saw it and you know what I mean? Like, they will rarely ever buy that house that you Pop Tart up and see.
Right. We're writing twice as many offers or three times as many
Yeah,
offers for
10
the
times.
same level of
Yeah,
paycheck. So yeah, it's a little bit challenging.
exactly. So step one, use the buyer consultation to tell them what the market is like and to help them understand what they're going to be experiencing.
Yeah, and you need to read your buyers because they may have all the financial wherewithal to do this,
Hmm.
but there's a big emotional toll,
Right.
and some people are better prepared to lose out than
Yes.
other people.
Right.
And so I think evaluating how upsetting it's going to be to them
Yep.
and determining how you're going to then deal with that psychology because
Right.
we have to be a lot more empathetic, understanding, tenderhearted,
Hmm.
all those things we are anyway because we work with people, but it's a greater challenge now, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Okay, what's your second tip?
Well, my second tip is in dealing with your sellers.
Okay.
A lot of sellers out there are all about the money. Oh, I don't want to do a private sale because I want to get multiple offers and all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
my first question when I go on a listing appointment is, what are your expectations from this experience? Do you
Right.
want to do
Oh,
the
that's a
whole
great
multiple offer
question.
thing? So you
Hmm.
can tell your neighbors, oh, we were on the market 2 days, we had 27 offers and it went for 100,000 over list. If that's the experience you want, then your house is going to have to look a little better.
Yeah.
We're going to have to do some things for you to get
Mhm.
that. That doesn't just happen for everyone.
Right.
And then if they say, we just want to get a good offer, we've got this place we want to move to, we know we need cash to do
Mhm.
that, then you've got a whole different scenario.
Right.
But I think it's important to understand the seller's expectations. And then again, of course, to kind of put those in a realistic zone, because there are some people that swear the house down the street sold for 100,000 over list and their house should too. And it shouldn't, because it doesn't look as good. It's not the same house.
So I think that's excellent advice. And I know that more often agents are doing seller consultations and not buyer consultations, right? So like, I think this does come up. But and this maybe is like a little bonus strategy. So like, what if you're doing it and the sellers are not being realistic? And let's say they want, a high percentage more than you're comfortable with. I mean, we've done a podcast on this before, like, should you overprice a house? Should you still list it? Right. And it, I don't know, but like, what if it's too high? I mean, what do you do?
Well, so you have to have some sort of starting point. And right now,
Mhm.
comps aren't,
They don't matter.
they don't matter as much as they did, but there has to be a starting point. And
Right.
so what I tell the seller is, you know what? All day long, I can get somebody to offer you that price. I'm not worried about that. What I'm worried about is these people have financing and it's still going to have to appraise.
Yeah.
And even cash buyers should get an appraisal, although most of them don't, but they should.
Don't. Yeah.
But when I tell them it's going to appraise here and we've got a $75,000 gap, I don't think this is going to end well.
Yeah.
And I would tell them we can get even over appraised value, but if you want someone to bridge that gap, you've got to set your price to where the gap is reasonable.
So
And
how do
depends on the
you
price.
have, I mean, being able to say that, it sounds, I mean, you make it sound so easy. It's so
It's not easy.
logical, right?
Not easy. And honestly, it's and I tell the sellers, I admit my own weakness here. I'm like, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you the safe route. But if you want to be a cowboy and throw it up there, throw it up there. I mean, typically I don't take overpriced listings, but in this market, it's very hard to identify.
It just depends on how, yeah, some of them are easier than others for sure, right?
Yeah, and it depends on the price point you work in too, and what your audience is. Around here, the under $500,000 price point is where it's just a feeding frenzy, and you do
I need
have
to move.
appraisal gaps.
Yeah.
But like the over $1 million price point, those appraisals typically come in where we need them to, and there's still multiple offers. It's still a feeding frenzy, but
Yeah.
it's just a little bit of a different scenario. So it depends on where your niche is too, as
Yeah.
to how valuable any of this is.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. And I think, I mean, out of both of these points, really slowing down to speed things up, right? So take a breath, just because I have found, and tell me if you found this too, the more urgent somebody is that I don't know, that they're calling me, the more urgent they are, the least likely they're pulling the trigger.
Absolutely. Those are the least viable clients.
Yep, absolutely. So slowing it down, explaining, really getting to a good understanding of what they're looking for, and can you help them? Are they being realistic?
Absolutely. And some of the standard things that we've always said, if it's somebody that calls you off a sign or whatever, and you've got to vet that person.
Yeah.
You've got to Google them, you've got to ask them questions, you've got to make sure they've talked to a lender.
Yeah.
All those basic things that we've always
Right.
done are still fully in play.
Yeah.
And actually even more so now, again, because people are offering insane amounts of money. And then the famous question, is this house worth it?
I don't
If
know.
you want to pay this, is it worth it? That's the most
According to who? Have you seen that meme where it's like what you think your house is worth, what the lender thinks it's worth, and it's like a picture, and
it's
it like gets
from the
more
guys from The Hangover.
Yeah. It's like the best. All right. Yeah, these are really great tips. And I think like as an agent, if these tips like are making you nervous, you feel like you're going to lose customers, how can we instill in them that you won't? It will actually be more beneficial. Like what are you saying to your agents?
Well, I'm saying to my agents, if you lose a customer because you are attempting to help them be realistic, then chances are you will, if you don't do that, you will spend tons of time and
Time.
then
Oh
buy
my God.
anything. And time
Yes.
is money. And so it's
Yes.
okay. It's okay to lose a customer. It's
It
okay to
is.
fire a customer.
I mean, we've done the podcast before on, do you help every seller? Do you help every buyer? The answer is no. You should not. You're not meant to help every single person.
Right, right.
Mhm.
And you know, there's obviously the things that we do now to win a deal: pass fail inspections, waive appraisals. Here it's standard for sellers to pay title, but buyers are paying it, you know, all
Yeah.
those kind of things to help win the deal. But the other expectation of the seller is, I try to tell them, okay, what's most important to you? Because when
Mhm.
we get these multiple offers in, we're going to have to review them inside that window. And so
Right.
it's not always going to be the price.
Right.
It
It's
could
gonna be
be,
terms,
yeah, it could
maybe.
be all the other terms or the time frame or whatever. And so that I think is important to do upfront with your sellers too.
Well, I think too, if you know that up front, then as the listing agent, you can call the buyer's agent and say, hey, here's what they're looking for. You know,
Mhm.
like they want X, Y, and Z. And if you can give us these three things, the chances of you getting accepted is a lot higher than if you only gave us two of the three or one of the three.
Absolutely. And conversation with the agent on the other side, no matter which side you're on, actual conversation in this age of technology is still the best negotiating tool
Duh.
available to you.
Girl, I think people are gonna think that I gave you a script to say.
Because texting just doesn't work, and it can come.
No. Yeah, agreed. Texting does not work.
Well, and one of the other things that I've tried to tell my agents in terms of negotiation, negotiation styles are really
Okay.
important. I've told my agents, you always want to be the collaborative agent. You want it to be a win-win, and that's what those personal conversations should be with the other agent.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, everyone's going to be happy with that. A competitive I win, you lose approach, I don't think that's healthy in any market, but particularly not this
No.
one. And then there's those people that are just kind of covert and sneaky, and it's such a waste
I
of time.
hate that. Because you
And
know who they are and you don't want to do business with them again.
right, and they're going to be the ones always sending you these aggressive texts and emails and won't really take your calls or talk to you. But those, all of those concepts are negotiation skills, in my opinion.
Well, I think what you say is absolutely true, and it makes me think of another point. So a lot of agents, the problem is most agents do less than like 10 deals a year. We'll just say, or less than 5, or whatever the average is.
Right.
Do you know exactly what it is now? Is it 5?
You know, I honestly don't know, because we sort of track things on dollar volume. So most agents are somewhere 2 million or less.
Okay, so well, in our market, that's a lot. But like, okay, so we'll just say like less than 5 deals.
Sure.
Well, if that one client that you're working with represents 20% of your annual income, one of 5, then it's very difficult to get out of the way. And our job as real estate agents is the buyer wants to buy, the seller wants to sell, and we're there to help facilitate the transaction.
Right.
And get them together. Yes.
Yeah.
And that requires your emotional drama to be out of the transaction.
Absolutely.
But if it's 20% of your annual income, it's almost impossible not to have emotional drama.
Well, that's true. But that client is 20% of your annual income, regardless of what they buy. And they will be more appreciative and respectful of you if you say, don't buy this.
Yeah.
Or don't accept these terms. This is not in your best interest. We will find you something else.
Or just like asking them questions like, okay, you had told me that you wanted, these terms. Now this contract may be a lower price, but it gives you those terms. What are those terms worth to you? And just like asking them questions to help them come to the realization that yes or no, this is it, but it's like you're consulting, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always going to go well. I mean, people.
What do you mean, LeAnne?
I know it rarely happens to me, but people think they want a certain thing.
Yeah.
And then when the reality happens, it's not really what they wanted. So, you've done your part. You've set the expectation, whether or not they take it to heart,
Well,
there's
and
nothing you
asking
can do about that.
questions and stuff like that, right? So like we have like a whole list of questions for buyers and for sellers because it's a lot of people don't know what they want. It's because they haven't been either in this situation ever or in a long time. And it's very difficult if you've never done something to know exactly what you want, right? That's everybody. I mean, people
Right.
say buyers are liars. They are not liars. They just don't know.
They
It's
just don't
not
know
the
what they
same
want.
thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
And they just mimic what everybody tells them. But it's like, okay, if you want that, then here's your realistic, here's
Yes.
what it's going to cost you. Do you have
Mhm.
that money? Okay, well, then you can't have that. Like, that's not how it works.
Well, and I think too, all these TV shows, all these,
Oh my God.
what's the network I'm looking for? DIY network
Or
and
whatever. HG.
all
Yeah.
HGTV. Thank you very much. All of that, I think, has really gotten in the way of realistic expectations on the part of the consumer.
Yeah.
Because those shows are great. They're entertainment.
They're supposed to be entertainment.
Yes, that is not reality. You're not gonna do it yourself and rip out all this stuff and
I
then
mean, you could try. It gives me good memes.
yeah, a lot of good memes. A lot of good memes. So
Yeah.
have you seen that video that's gone around about the guy selling the apple?
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
That is appreciated by buyers, sellers, and agents. I mean, if there were an
Yes.
award for those things, that guy should win.
It's like a TikTok video, I think, right? It's
Probably.
pretty funny. Yeah, I know. I love it. Well, LeAnne, I really appreciate you being on. I think that the tips and advice that you're offering, it's back to the basics, and that's what we're dealing with. It's so easy to get tied up in the frenzy that you just have got
Right.
to take a freaking breath, slow down, and just go to what you know works, which is doing a consultation, really understanding, asking a lot of questions, and really helping your clients,
Yeah.
regardless of buyer or seller.
No, the goal is not to win the deal. The goal
Yeah.
is to win the best situation for your client.
Exactly, 100%. Well, if people have a referral for you or your team in Nashville, or they're looking to maybe join a team in Nashville, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, you know what? After I've said all this phone call stuff, texting is excellent.
Oh, LeAnne, no.
No, but by that I mean, hey,
Can I
I'm
call
so and
you?
so. I would really love to talk to you. Can you please give me a call? And as soon as I see that, I will pick up that phone right away. But
Okay.
we get a lot of calls, and if you don't know who it is or don't know,
Yeah.
but also my email, which is just my name, LeAnne at LeAnneConstantine.com. We just use that as the company email, and
Okay.
that's excellent too.
Perfect. And
And a
what's your
phone call, if
cell?
you want a phone call, that's great. Just please leave a message.
What is your cell?
615
Hmm.
519 2064. And then the office number, which I also get those messages, 615 829 2552.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on.
Thank you, Jen. I really enjoyed it.
Good. Have a good